Hello there, friends. Welcome to joining us on the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on For You Television. Our big stories of tonight. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his country will support the development of clean energy among Commonwealth nations, announcing a package with the potential to create over 180,000 jobs and cut carbon emissions. Plus, the war in Ukraine is the latest shock to hit global food production, causing concern about the food security situation in the African continent, in which it is at the center of deliberation at the 2022 European Africa Union Summit underway in Brussels. Those are my big stories of tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by for the development of this and more right ahead. Thanks for trusting us. I am Teke Wana, the anchor. We begin this day from Europe, where we are told that the European Union has granted candidate status to Ukraine in their quest to join the Union less than a week before Russia invaded their land. What diplomatic meaning can we make from this is the content of this report proposed to us by Ekome Abane.
Path towards EU membership, acting with uncharacterized speed and unity to pull the embattled country further away from Russia's influence and bind it more closely to the West. Meeting in a summit in Brussels on Thursday, leaders of the EU's 27 nations mustered the required unanimous approval to grant Ukraine candidate status. That set in motion a membership process that could take years or even decades. The move comes just 1 day short after the 4-month anniversary of President Vladimir Putin ordering his troops into Ukraine for what Russia insisted is not a war, but a special military operation. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted his gratitude and declared Ukraine's future is within the EU. The EU also gave candidate status to the tiny country of Moldova, another former Soviet republic that borders Ukraine. But it should be recalled that Ukraine applied for membership less than a week after Moscow invaded on February 24th. Thursday's decision was unusually rapid for the EU and its go-slow approach to expansion. But the war and Ukraine's request for fast-track consideration lent urgency to the country's cause. But it should also be noted that EU candidate status does not give an automatic right to join the bloc and does not provide any immediate security guarantees. But once a country gains membership, however, it is covered under an EU treaty clause that says if a member falls victim to armed aggression, the other EU countries are obligated to assist it by all means in their power.
Now let's talk cooperation at this point in time, whereby the European Union as well as African business minds are currently meeting in Brussels to seek ways of combating food security in the world. At a point in time when the war between Ukraine and Russia is still dragging on, experts say they are poised to carve out a well-structured plan for the benefit of all. Details in the following report.
The current geopolitical context provides a momentum for business representatives and policymakers to reflect on the future of global food supply and food security, in which Africa has plenty of opportunities to offer in terms of innovations and technologies that could benefit Europe, with the world's population projected to increase to 10 billion by 2050. Food production should remain high on the international agenda's unquestionable concerns. This sums up the focus this year at the annual EU-Africa Business Summit in Brussels, where prominent business leaders with high-level policymakers and civil society experts are meeting to discuss the way forward in solving the global food crisis.
With the European commercial banks, we're working really to provide them trade finance facilities. We're looking to risk share in their portfolios in terms of exposure to African industry, to ensure that the fertilizer and the seeds that are needed really on an emergency basis do get provided to Africa.
While African farmers have land, they must depend on other countries for essential inputs such as fertilizers. And here at the EU-Africa Business Summit, participants are calling for more private sector involvement and investment in African agriculture.
Everybody understands the value of money in business. And for us, we think that one of the fundamental challenges for the private sector in Africa, and for that matter Ghana, is being able to access financing. So government is also doing that.
The war in Ukraine has not only caused a global grain shortage, but that of fertilizer too. This is both challenge and an opportunity for African fertilizer makers.
I think Africa, more than ever, needs reliable partners, all stakeholders of the food value chain, to stand by their partners and their customers in the continent. We at OCP are well aware of our responsibility to maintain our role as partners of African Green Revolution.
Experts say achieving long-term food security in Africa will rest heavily on building resilient agriculture value chains, investing in climate change adaptation, infrastructure, and local manufacturing.
Now, officials in Germany say they will soon start rationing their gas reserve under an emergency plan after Russia slashed supplies to their country. The country's current storage gas percentage stands at 60%. As you tell us more, Ekume Abane.
It is said the country moves closer to rationing gas, as Russia will be cutting gas supply, thus slashing supplies to Berlin. The Minister of Economy in Germany says the step reflects the significant deterioration of the gas supply situation in the West European nation, reason why Germany has moved closer to rationing gas as it raised the alert level under an emergency plan. Germany, like many other countries, is highly reliant on Russian energy imports to meet its needs, but all of that will have to quickly change in Europe. For instance, Russian energy giant Gazprom last week reduced supplies to Germany via the Nord Stream pipeline by 60% due to what the company said was a delayed repair. But Germany has brushed aside the technical justification for the move, instead calling it a political decision, stating that Russia was using gas as a weapon against Germany in retaliation for the West's support for Ukraine, following Moscow's invasion, which is gradually destroying European unity. Russian oil company Gazprom has already stopped deliveries to a number of European countries as well, including Poland, Bulgaria, Finland, and the Netherlands. In April, Germany mandated gas storage facilities be filled to 90% by the beginning of December to mitigate the risks from a supply cut. Currently, the country's stores stands at just 60% full, above the average level of previous years. The targets would, however, be hard to hit if exports onward to other countries hard to justify within Europe were not limited. Were these to return to the level they were at before the most recent supply squeeze, Germany could face an acute gas shortage in February 2023, while a further reduction in supplies via the Nord Stream pipeline could make the situation even worse. If deliveries do not resume after the service period, Germany could face a shortage of gas as soon as mid-December.
Now, from one corporation to another, let's talk about this other event that happened in Paris, France, whereby the 2022 Sian African Forum held yesterday in Paris, France, with participants resolving to keep pressing member states to relax and beef up local production and to stop relying on foreign products, as we in this report.
The 2022 French Investment Africa Forum, which held Thursday, June 23 in Paris, had as guest of honor Niger President, who during his presentation launched an appeal to foreign investors, particularly in the agricultural sector within the context of the war in Ukraine, for African countries to take advantage of their potential of unused farmland and change the narrative. In Gabon, for example, we are told cassava farming to counter the shortage of wheat flour is generating plenty of steam, but experts say it's not enough.
It is not enough to produce cassava. We must install a processing chain to obtain cassava flour after the first, second and third processing. This will considerably reduce our imports and will allow us to obtain 100% cassava-based bread with the ability to create wealth locally by producing a bread that corresponds to the consumption habits of the Gabonese people.
Another unavoidable theme which was brought to the fore was energy transition, which experts say is a real ladder for job creation for every economy.
Behind all this, there are projects that will give people jobs, new industries to be set. So behind all this, there must be training so that the people adapt to this new situation, because electricity means handling new tools that will require training, but also a period of adaptation.
Transition, diversification are strategies that require adapting the workforce to the needs of these new growth models.
In most countries, public education systems represent 60 to 80%. So governments have an obligation, because they are the ultimate decision makers, to revolutionize the curricula in universities, and especially to offer new courses of study that will link new professions.
After a clear rebound in 2021, African growth could be slowed down by the consequences of the war in Ukraine. This is thus an opportunity to reopen the debate on the economic sovereignty of the continent, which now seems determined to move away from dependence on import to promote self-sufficiency in the African continent.
Now let's get down to Kigali, Rwanda, where British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, while addressing participants at the 26th Commonwealth Summit, announced preferential trade system to kickstart as from July 6, 2022. The details in Davis report.
Addressing the Commonwealth Business Forum in Kigali, Rwanda on Thursday, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the British international investment would put €160 million into hydropower in Africa to generate electricity to 3 million people and creating 180,000 jobs in the African continent and cut carbon emissions.
International investment is British international investment is putting £160 million into hydropower in Africa, creating 180,000 jobs, including here in Rwanda, while at the same time cutting carbon emissions, generating electricity for 3 million people.
Johnson said partnership among member states of the Commonwealth family could deliver prosperity in the green economy.
What I feel so strongly about the Commonwealth is it's not just about the imports and the exports. It's about the partnerships that we build. It's about doing more together to ensure that everyone prospers from the new green industrial revolution. I saw some of you, I'm proud to say, at the Africa Investment Summit in London in 2020. Remember that, just before COVID struck, a moment of real optimism. Well, I want you to know we're doing the same again next year.
He also lauded the African continent free trade area, which he said could generate more capital than Africa could ever receive in international aid. Boris equally announced preferential trade system for 65 developing countries, including Rwanda and 17 other Commonwealth members from July 6, 2022. Nonetheless, leaders of Commonwealth nations are expected to call for increased climate action at the meeting in Rwanda, as climate change remains a major concern for the bloc, which have seen many being affected recently with severe weather events, including heat waves, droughts, cyclones, and floods.
Now, from Rwanda, we go over to South Africa, where we are told that South Africa has just detected its first monkeypox case, and the Minister of Public Health in that part of the country has reported that they are assuring the population that the government is doing all its best to keep the population safe from the epidemic that is, of course, ravaging most countries in the globe, as we in this report by Nota Bianche.
South Africa has confirmed its first case of monkeypox through a communique by the Minister of Health, Joe Fowler, in a press conference.
Late yesterday, I received a report from the National Health Laboratory Service indicating that they have confirmed through a laboratory test the first case of monkeypox in South Africa. So the NICD is conducting online service, in-service training for our health workers, for them to be able to detect the disease so that necessary laboratory tests can be done.
He precised during the press conference that the patient had never had an antecedent of monkeypox.
The patient is a 30-year-old male from Johannesburg who has no travel history, meaning that it cannot be attributed to the disease having been acquired elsewhere. So it means that it is with us.
The health authorities have begun contact tracing on the case, and the World Health Organization said that Europe remains the epicenter of the monkeypox epidemic. The United Nations Health Body is due to hold an emergency meeting to discuss classifying the global epidemic as a public health emergency of international concern. To remember, the first symptoms of monkeypox are usually a high fever, swollen limbs, knots, and a chickenpox-like rash. The virus usually disappears after 2 or 3 weeks.
Let's talk sports in this newscast, and of course we're going over to Burundi, where we are told that as a social responsibility to Burundi, his mother's birth country, Paris Saint-Germain's defender Thiolo Kera has opened a youth center with the help of his foundation. This, he says, will greatly help curb juvenile delinquency in that part of the African continent. The details in this report.
The charity organization of the 23-year-old German defender aims at opening up new perspectives for the young people in the East African country of Burundi, who, like their peers in the other African countries, dream of becoming superstars in a king sport. The PhD defender, Thiolo Kera Youth Center, recently inaugurated, is one of the fruits of his milestone project to his maternal home, Burundi.
The center will focus on culture and sport as well. It will focus on ideas, opportunities for young Burundians to help them develop in different areas, in their creativity, in their desires, in their sharing, in different values that are important in life, and that is where the center wants to go.
For those who aspire to emulate the steps of the international footballer star in Burundi, this is just a golden opportunity given to them. According to Jean Bosco, a head trainer in one of the prominent soccer clubs in Burundi, the Kera Foundation will certainly have a great impact to the lives of youths in Burundi.
I think that what every player here thinks of himself is, why not me? Why can't I be like him? An ambassador for others, succeeding abroad, and when I come back, doing activities like he does.
The Parisian players who attended the launch all made donations to help acquire works of art with the aim of financing a center that will help young Burundians who have completed school and desire learning a trade to earn a living from sustainable development.
And of course, that report from Burundi put a wrap to today's 6 p.m. primetime newscast on For You Television. We want to thank you all immensely for your kind attention. God willing, we shall be back here same time tomorrow or probably on Monday for what must have made news in Cameroon, Africa, and the world. Until then, it's goodbye from Buenos, Argentina. Goodbye from Bujumbura, Burundi. God bless motherland Africa. Bye-bye.